Hello, a very warm welcome to this program. Sports journalism and female athletes has historically been a difficult area for women to enter and to be taken seriously. While there are a handful of established female athletes like the likes of Francine Niyonsaba come to mind, there are four more that haven't broken down the door, and it's not for fault of their talent. We as a society in the 21st century would like to believe that sexism and gender equality have progressed from where they were a few decades ago. And the truth is, there is a great deal of work still to be done. My name is Bigirmana Ayuba on today's program. And in this program, I am going to look at what it takes to be a female athlete or journalist. We will look at the challenges, success of female athletes, and I will take you through their everyday life as they struggle on a daily basis with sexual harassment, inequality in sports, wherever they come in front of a certain audience or in front of TV cameras. Nshimirimana Lilian is a sports journalist, a volleyball coach, and she's also the head of Burundi Sports Journalists Association. She says she never experienced sexism in sport, but as a female sports journalist, they face a lot of challenges. Domestic work, culture barrier, and little support from people around them could be a hurdle for some female sports journalists and can lead many to quit.
Sports journalist is a hard job because on weekend you find you have many responsibilities like domestic work and something you need to rest on and have some good time somewhere at the beach with friends or family. Sometimes our husband could not understand how a woman can be a sports journalist. Sometimes they ask themselves, how could a woman manages to do such a hard-time job to move from one stadium to another? They take us a lazy that we don't have enough power to a female journalist. It's a very, very hard to convince them. Sometimes our colleagues think that we don't have passion for sport according to the way we are. Some women don't encourage us to enter the sport journalism because they think it's a man's job. Culture barrier is also a big challenge. Another challenge is because there is no money in sport journalism. That's why most of the female journalists don't want to join sport journalism. Other challenge is when we are pregnant, we cannot do any activity about sport journalism until after we are fully recovered. That's about 1.5 years. Africa!
Lilian is not only a journalist, but she's also a female volleyball coach. So Lilian, as a coach, what are the challenges you face?
Being a coach, the main challenge I have as a coach, we lack means, most especially for our players and for us, the coaches and staff. So we do this job for volunteer. This can lead to some members to quit and to do other things.
So we understand that being the president of such kinds of association, there are always some challenges. Would you like to share with us the challenges you get or the challenges you faced when you were elected as the president of Burundi Sports Journalists Association?
Yes, of course. Some people were jealous about my election winner as the head of Sport Journalist Association. Some were claiming that they cannot be ruled by a woman.
Aisha Jafari is the under-20 Burundi national team captain. She says her biggest challenge is they don't get much care from the head of the Football Federation as they do care for men's team.
Aisha Jafari, ni kapteni wa timu ya taifa ya Burundi.
My name is Aisha Jafari, the captain of national team of Burundi. First, I would like to thank God who managed to reach us here today and make me the national team captain. We have come through many issues. We have been patient for many things. For many years, there was no national female football team, but we managed to be patient. We never lose hope. We continue to struggle. The first challenge I can talk about is that they never care about us. Even if it is a men's game, but it is a sport, they don't care about us at all. Like now, we are preparing a game, but we don't even have a team bus. We just borrow it. Imagine the national team. We get food. We eat well, but there are other things we don't get. We lack medicines for some other kind of sickness, just like that. Yeah, we are always last to them. You see, we have about 1 month and 3 weeks, and they don't care about us. But we have started to see them in this last final week before the match. We see they bring some money for drinks, but we have a month and we don't see any head of football here.
Ndo tunaletewa hela ya soda kitu kama hicho, lakini tuna mwezi mzima tuoni mkuu hata umoja yani.
Aline Kodo is a netball player.
The problem which is there for girls concerning volleyball is the game is loved by few, and since few love it, we found that they don't teach in schools anymore because they don't put much care about girls. They don't put so much effort to make them love the game. That's the problem which is here. And until now, we see that in schools, they gave up to teach it, but since 2000 until now, 2017, the number reduced in this game. Many now love basketball and football.
Ingorane yindi hari barakenera ikintu kijanye no gushigikirwa.
Another problem is they need to be supported. Girls in these games are not supported as boys. Then it leads even to the one we have who already love this game. When they see how boys are given much attention, they give up because they are not treated equally. And you know that in games, whether a boy or a girl, if both play the same game, they were supposed to be supported equally.
Kurugero rungana.
Logo girl, low young mangalisa. Logo girl, low young mangalisa. Mangi boni dandane. Eya ifeli, apansi gomtunzi. Low young mangalisa.
Kwenza Ngwenya is the head of the delegation of South African women's under-20 national football team. He says the main challenge they have is that they don't have enough pool of women, and talked about the domestic barrier for women.
As far as women in football is concerned, we don't have enough pool of players, because in some of the parents, there is still that resistance to release players or to release children to go and play football, because as we know, this football in women is newly introduced. So bit by bit, it is getting better, because now women are given a chance. This goes as far as in committees. we are struggling to get women in our committees. At the end of the day, gender people end up saying football people doesn't give women a chance to be in football. Yet that's not the fact. The fact is some women maybe like to be in football, and only to find that a woman likes sport but a husband is not in sport. Now it's very difficult for a woman to go for a sport and leave a husband behind, And you will understand sometimes we hold our meetings at night. Now you can imagine a woman not at home, a man sleeping alone, So that's a problem we have. But we are trying our almost best to involve them. Like for instance, in South Africa, we ended adding into our constitution that from each and every committee, it is compulsory that the deputy of the chairperson must be a woman. That's a way of trying to involve them, trying to increase the number of women in football. Because since there is this resistance, there is no other way of increasing the number other than involving in committees and pleading to the parents to release the children to go and play football, because football is getting bit by bit getting up, and we are prepared as an association to give full support, provided parents also support us by allowing the girls to go and play.
Busisiwe Mkwena is from South Africa.
I am Busisiwe Mkwena, a sports journalist from South Africa. I cover different kinds of sport, from football, netball, a bit of rugby, road running, and others that need to be covered, a bit of boxing as well.
She says there is no equality in the world of sports. And as a female sports journalist, she faces many obstacles. And one of them is she finds it very hard to get opportunities in the industry.
I don't believe that there is equality in the world of sports. For me, as a female sports journalist, I find it hard actually, getting opportunities in the industry. I mean, it's not easy for especially young women who are hoping to break into the industry to come in. It took me also a while to get in, because I think there's a stereotype that females cannot really cover sport. Females do not know sport as men do. So I think that's one of the main obstacles that women in sport find, especially up-and-coming young journalists find when it comes to getting into the industry. Like I said earlier, the challenges that I face as a female sports journalist is that I don't really get treated equally. Especially from the administrators and the athletes, because I feel maybe they feel as a woman I don't know much about sport and I wouldn't be able to cover it as well as men would. I don't know, it's unfortunate, but I think I don't take that to heart, because I am there to do a job and I just continue to do that.
Uganda is a landlocked country and has transformed itself from a country with a troubled past to one of the relative stability and prosperity. With a population of about 35.6 million, with female constitute the biggest percentage of the total population of Uganda, with 51% compared to male at 49%. Amina is a freelance sports photographer attached to Uganda's leading independent daily called The Monitor. She is also the official club photographer for Kampala Capital City Authority Football Club, known as KCCFC. She said she have never been physically assaulted, but have been insulted at various occasions.
About sexual harassment.
About sexual harassment in the field, physically I have not been assaulted, but once in a while you could hear people say things about you. Even the athletes themselves would say things to you, even the fan, even my photo colleagues. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to say I have to settle it up because I have a son. I am not going to look back when the school tuition is due and I'm thinking, oh, I didn't go to that match, to that assignment because the fans are so rude. You don't have excuse. Whatever it is, I just keep on walking where people talks. People will always say what makes them feel better, even if it means to putting another person's stuff. I have not been physically assaulted, but I have been insulted at various occasions.
Well, luckily I haven't been sexually harassed yet in the environment, but obviously you would get one or two of those comments which are not comfortable, but I haven't been sexually harassed as yet, so I'm actually grateful, thankful, and I hope it doesn't happen because I mean we all need to be treated equally. I mean, we don't see the male, I don't see my male colleagues being harassed in any way. I don't think I should get that treatment. I mean, we're all doing the same job anyway.
But Busisiwe says sexism is something she faces almost every day.
I have experienced sexism, when covering sport. I mean, from male coaches in the Premier League, in our football Premier League in the country, when you ask a question, they look at you funny, or when you ask a question, they become all sarcastic in their responses and not really willing to answer you as they would a male colleague. It's really unfortunate, and it happens all the time.
The truth is, people talk a lot when we are in the downtown, but when we are on the pitch, many of them support us. They say, look, she's like men, but they don't say it in form of an insult. No, they say it to motivate us because of the power we use. We imitate men. They support something like that by taking us as men, but in a joking way. But when on the pitch, they support us as we try to imitate what men do, just like that.
So how do you handle your job as a female national team coach with other obligations? I mean, you may have a spouse, you may have children at home, or even domestic work, other responsibilities at home.
Bon, kubifata d'abord ni organisation. Umuntu yiorganiza gute? Yiorganiza gute?
It is first the organization, how you organize yourself. But before all that, you must have a family that accepts your work and they let you go. If you have a husband who accepts what you do, or if you're still at home and your family accepts that you can do sport, it is fine. You can organize yourself, because there are work that you have to do at home and the others study. There is school. It is just organization.
Domestic issues have been one of the major causes for women not to engage themselves into sport. or sports journalism. This leads the number to be small, as some of sports journalists, athletes are married and have different obligations. I spoke to one who decided to quit sports journalism for the same reason, but was unable to talk to us on the mic. But she said she had a lot of responsibilities. That is, they are the ones in charge of looking after the kids and other domestic work which occupies her time. But Busisiwe says she's lucky she's not yet married, and she copes with the situation very well.
How do I manage being a sports journalist with other obligations? Luckily, I do not have a family as yet. Because I don't know, there's a lot of traveling involved in sports journalism, because there's tournaments here and there in the rest of the country, sometimes the continent, and then you have to travel and you sometimes have just a day to prepare. I'm lucky that I don't have a family, I don't have kids as yet, so I manage quite well. It's just, all I have is just my family and school and work, but I cope well. I have a supportive editor, so he most of the time he lets me, he allows me to put time into my schoolwork and other things as well.
Another challenge we have is about media. Even if I'm a journalist, let me talk about media. They don't show or talk about our games in the media. We play tournament or competition, but not even once they show it or even talk about it on the media.
Nibimenya Daniel is the coach of under-20 national female football team.
Ntibabesha kuko media zino cyane cyane ntibavuga cyane football femina. Naho
the media here don't talk about female football, and on the one hand, do they even know that it exists? It is their job because they are in sport, so they are supposed to know what is happening. I can understand them because the league is not well. There are only a few teams and the league is not regular. Sometimes it is stop and goes on again. Maybe that cannot make it easier for them. But again, if they want to know, they can ask and they can get informed about female football. Like now, we played against Djibouti. They did not talk much about it, and only now we see them because of the game we are going to play against South Africa. It is not like boys where they keep talking about everything. They just show up when there is event. It is like girls do not exist. If they want, they can help us develop the women football. People from the countryside also need to hear about women football because there can be a parent who has a child who plays football. So if that parent does not hear about it, he or she cannot let her child come to play.
Aline Kodo is a netball player, and she has the same accusation to the media.
Ikindi dukunda kuvuga urukino rwa volleyball ku bigeme ntibaruvuga nta na gatonya.
Another thing we often say is they don't talk about female volleyball games, not even a little. Even on social media, we found they put only men's photos. We found they praise men, but even if women play, let us take even at the end of the championship or even when they prepare themselves for the national team, then you will find nothing has been talked about on female games, or just pass like that. Not even the first, not even the second, until to the team that came last, and they will find all just pass like that. That's why you find young girls give up in those games. They don't play again. You find there are many teams that abandoned because they don't feel like playing anymore. because they don't hear that game or they hear themselves in those games.
Gender inequality is present in sports and is found in the media, the Olympics, and in the athletes' pay. That is according to a report by Dana Rogers. The report says women's sports receives only 4% of all sports media coverage. I went to put the allegation to Harakandi Patrick, a sports journalist at the Burundi National Radio, and this is what he had to say.
Mimi nafikiria kwamba kitu hicho kinaeleweka. Ni kweli sisi wote waandishi wa habari hasa wa michezo.
To me, I think it's understandable. It's true, all of us sports journalists, it's very difficult to give them a huge time to air women games. If you are a journalist, it's like a pyramid, different from the one you know, which means the news begins from up ascending to the bottom. That's why we begin with a big story and we end with female sports news. We put it at last because we find many of our listeners waiting for big stories. Even you are a journalist. When providing news and you begin with a light news, the listeners can change or tune to another radio station. That means you have to begin with hot news. That is men's news. Even the wages are not the same. Their salary is not the same. For example, the one of women there is a big difference with that of men. But if they could be on the same level, of course, they have to get the same time of broadcasting. I'll give you an example. In the Olympic Games, the same gold medals men receive is the same with that of women. When we turn to football, you cannot compare Mata with the Cristiano Ronaldo. It's impossible. That means you have to begin with news about Ronaldo, then later you will talk about Mata. Even in the Olympics, when Usain Bolt wins, you cannot talk about Francine. Even to our listeners, men's 100 meters is more interesting than women's 100 meters. Even the budget is not the same. So I must talk about the news which is most loved by our listeners.
Sasa itabidi aje. Maanake lazima nizungumze na nitoe habari ile najua watu wanaitaka, watu wataiwekea umuhimu zaidi.
Nkeshimana Melkiad is the head of sports activity at Burundi National Radio. What do you have to say concerning this accusation? We would like to know why you don't broadcast a lot of their games, as in promoting them. What is the reason?
Je pense que dans les médias, premièrement, il n'y a pas d'objet proprement dit qu'on peut attribuer aux femmes ou aux filles seulement. Je pense que c'est plutôt les filles.
I think that in the media, firstly, I don't think there are games that are only attributed to girls or women. I think that it is rather that girls don't practice much sports here in Burundi. You cannot find many girls who are interested in football, even if there is a national team or the league. You can find many girls in basketball or other games, but not so much. But we cannot say that the media are not interested in covering girls' games, but rather there are no games that got organized especially for girls. That is what can push maybe the media not to cover those games. The media is going maybe to be interested in games that are practiced. I cannot broadcast what is not interested by the auditor. I look first at the interest of our auditors. I can't talk about that just because it is about girls. No. What interests the media is the auditor. If there is a cup game or the game you like, for example, now they are going to play against South Africa this weekend, the media will be interested at that game because not because it is a match that is going to be played by the girls, but because it's a game that is going to oppose these two countries, South Africa and Burundi. People will have the curiosity to watch and see how these Burundian girls are going to perform against South Africa or how good the South African girls are. So the media have to cover this game because it is interested by the auditor. That's what the media do. Look at the interests of the listeners.
De ces filles, mais aussi les médias vont couvrir parce que ça intéresse les auditeurs.
Rashid Alfred is a famous sports journalist here in Burundi. He says lack of financial support is the main obstacle for them not to cover female games.
Ni kweli kwamba tunalaumiwa na umati.
Yes, it's true that we are blamed by the people that we don't talk about female games as we should. But when you see things, most especially in this country, all the media, do they have enough financial capacity to fulfill journalists' responsibilities so that they may follow closely female sports or games of which are far behind compared to the development of men games? My close example is that you may need someone to give interview or invite someone to my radio program, but you find you don't have money to buy airtime because I was not given, and this is work. So the truth is, I told those responsible not to blame us a lot because it's true that on one way or the other, we're not there for women. But it's not our fault. The financial support we get from our bosses is not enough. It's too small to the extent we could not be able to fulfill our promise to follow the development of female sports.
No, I will differ. It is not true that football leaders are not giving women opportunities. The fact is, women are not coming because if you can check, no man was called. No one has gone to any crawl and say, come to football. But people come for themselves. Now women doesn't come. You see, it's very difficult. As much as we need them, but if they don't come, it's very difficult. You know what we can appeal for is that the parents must allow the children to go and play. We need them, but we don't get them. We don't have enough pool of players. That's why we are having this problem.
If you don't broadcast women's football, how do you expect them to develop their game?
Moi, je pense, premièrement, dans les médias,
I think that in the media, firstly, in what we broadcast in sports program here on the radio, we don't have women who are interested in those sports programs. So I think maybe in order to develop these games, I think they should put women in this kind of programs so that these women go and get information about those other women who practice sports. But you can find that even these women who are in the media don't cover much those girls' games to develop their games. I think that mostly we need to sensitize or motivate authorities and media leaders so they can value these women games or the games practiced by women. So as I said before, you cannot find that is totally concern only women. So I think the leaders of the media need to develop our sports programs in putting so many women in those programs, because you will find that there is not any women who broadcast a sports program. Maybe if there are women in sports program, they can be interested in what women practice, but the task comes back to the media leaders who need to follow our constitution, which suggests 30% of women in all what we do. Then they must put 30% in women in those sports programs.
En ce qui concerne les jeux pratiqués par les femmes.
Sisi tunazipromote, lakini kuambia kwamba hata michezo hatuipi na nafasi.
We promote their games, but we cannot give them the same airtime. Football is like the king of all games. It means the time I will take on football is not the time I will take on athletics or volleyball. So we give them time depending on the sports. So the question is, how can we help to promote women games? First, let them promote themselves. Let them do a good performance. Because if they do well and their performance attracts us, we won't get problems to cover their games. First, when you do a job, you have to promote yourself first. And if you do well, I'm a journalist. I will look for you, not you looking for me. I will look for you because what you do is good.
Na mimi pia inanifanya nini? Kumbe ni wewe mwanzo uanze kufanya kazi nzuri, alafu mimi nikutafute.
Inequality is still found in the athletes' pay. Female athletes are paid significantly less money for the same amount of effort and work.
I don't think we get the same pay as women and men in the industry. I know I've been doing quite well, but I think chances are I might be earning quite less compared to the guys. But you know how salaries are like. People don't really want to talk about salaries because, you know, matter of privacy and all that. But I doubt that we actually get the same pay, which is really unfortunate, because if we're doing the same job and all the other services that we pay and goods and buy for, like they're all the same prices, why do we not get the same salaries in those different kind of industries? It's quite unfair.
Women are not paid the same wages as their men counterparts. I mean their salary. Don't you think that is inequality in sports?
Ego novuga yuko mu bisanzwe equipe nationale sanse gufatwa kumwe ariko.
Yes, I can say that the national teams are supposed to be taken equally, but as it is the first time we got in this kind of competition, for us, we cannot put first the salary. We must first show the people of Burundi that we are capable of playing football. Then we ask them to treat us the same way. There are things that they do equally. All the things that they give to them, boys, are the same. It is normal except reward. It is the same in so many things, but there is a difference. We ask them in 2 years from now, as they accept us to do competition, to be one, just like old and young athletes.
Just babe bamwe ni mukuru na mutonyi dumwe ego.
When you talk of payments, first of all, you must first think where is money coming from. The truth is, money is coming from sponsors. Now, if you compare women's football and men's football, when male football is playing, you must compare the crowd. You know, sponsors are working with the crowd. They need people. So in women, the crowd is not equal to the crowd of males football. So the fact is, we don't have sponsors for women football. We are still struggling to get sponsors. Yet for men, for males, sponsors are coming for themselves, pulled by the crowd.
As the president of Burundi Sports Journalists Association, what can be or what should be done at least to engage more women into sports journalism?
As a president, what we have to do is to mobilize them and to convince them that sports journalism is not only for men, but it's for all of us. We have to invite them to participate actively on a field. We have also to change the image of those people who think sport journalism is for men.
And how are you going to do that?
By making a radio program to show how capable female journalists are.
The number of female journalists is too low compared to that of men. I think maybe it's because, like I said earlier, women don't really get as many chances as opportunities that is as male, because they look at the gender first, and then there's stereotypes that women can't do certain jobs, and then maybe that's why they take into consideration men first than women.
Ziko mbinu nyingi ambazo viongozi wa sera za michezo kwa
There are so many ways to the heads of sports federations in general can use, particularly female games. They can use to engage more women, or they show up in large numbers in different games. I remember some years back, like 10 years ago on football side, Lydia Sekera saw women don't attend football games, and she said from today onwards, no women should pay entrance fee for league games, maybe international games. So women started to come in large numbers, and the people started to say that maybe it was because of the entrance fee. But later on, the political crisis in the country brought fear in them, and they stopped coming to watch games for fear of their security, most especially in the evenings and night times. So everything went back a little. But this 3-day seminar which we attended, we went through many things that could bring a new push for women, either to come and support their sisters who play football or other games, basketball, netball, etc. Maybe the outcome of the seminar, I believe it will bring change to bring back women on the pitch as it used to be 10 years ago.
Nahimana Circoncil is the head of Women and Sports Commission at the Burundi National Olympic Committee. I caught up with her at the seminar of national sports leaders on gender equality in sports here in Burundi, organized by the National Olympic Committee, and this is what she said. So many were claiming that women don't come to football, most especially youngs, and some are refused by their parents. They are afraid of joining the sports. What can you do at least to engage more women, most especially young ones, to embrace sports?
Mu vyumviro twatanze twabonye yuko effectivement abana bigeme batari benshi ku rubuga.
On the opinions we gave, we see that effectively young girls are not many on the field. Girls' team are few, and we see that even though young girls are not many, there is not also many people to train them, and those who organize those games are not many. It shows that we have to take a decision which we can work on. The first decision is that we are going to try to upgrade young girls that are starting to do sport. In upgrading young girls, we need first to sensitize their parents and even the children, tell them that sport is needed to their life, their health, and it helps them to live with others. It is needed especially to women because sport helps so much in their health, so it means that we are going to guard them, because sometimes they can come without knowing if they are going to play volleyball or basketball. They are just doing sport in general, so we are going to be there to look at what the child can be able to play better. Another thing is to try to make playing finally to have enough means. It means that the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Youth and Sport, the National Olympic Committee and the Federation are going to work together, implicate also the country, and see a policy for having finances for those games to be perfect, because you know that there are no games without money. I forgot to tell you that if it must also have legal framework, because you see that there are ministry, federation, school. We are both parents who work for one child. It means that if they understand each other, shares opinions, and works together, there will be development more than they would work apart. Working together, it gives more strength.
Okay, so concerning media, they say they don't talk about female sports. How are you going to work with the media to promote female games?
turazi neza yuko le media ari utininiya cyane mu guteza imbere inkino.
We know well that the media is a great tool in a general way to promote games. Even those of women, we can use the media because we were late. That's why we cannot say anything. But there is time when you talk about others, men's sport, we see that women games are not else, and it is not because there are no games, but it is just because that you think it is boring or think that there are no games. But you will not know if you do not watch them. That's why we are planning to work together. We have to work together, talk, and look for each other. But we are the ones who are supposed to look for you in the first place. We know that we cannot make noise, but if we make a call, we know that you are going to respond our call. We know that you reach far. You make children watch TV, see people on TV. You make children learn. Now, there are children who rank themselves among others, but because they are girls, if she had rank herself and go abroad, she does not call the media and they look at what they can say about, which shows that we saw that in this teaching we were doing, there is a team that show that if the media supports women games, help women games, and also the media gets help in everything else without staying behind, there can be a great development. That's why whatever will be said, if needed to be no, we will let you know. We are going to look at another policy to try and work together with the media.
tugiye kuraba ukundi kuntu ubundi buryo tugerageza tugakorana kuko turabona ko tubakeneye kugira ngo inkino zitere imbere.
Let us look back and compare the situation of women in sports in the past 2 decades and today. What are the improvements made, or what are the improvements you see so far?
Uravye twavuye naho tugeze.
If you look at where we were before and where we are now, women games are progressing, because now when we see a girl wearing shorts, when we see a girl who asks permission to go for training, when we see a girl ride a bicycle, now it is not shameful anymore, because we are progressing compared to where we came from. We did not progress that much. If we look back when our games in Burundi used to start from school, for example, we had men boarding school, there were stadium, enough time, and there were also teachers who were capable. But now, because of poverty in many schools, and the children have become numerous in schools, schools do not have stadium, and some schools don't have teachers who are capable. Even though the children have become numerous, the game decreased. If you look at how many they are and the number of children who enter now in sport, there is also that question of external schools that made children not to be interested in games because they don't have enough time anymore. That's first. Secondly, there are studies after school for primary school and fundamental schools, so children put in first place studies. There is no time for training, but again, we cannot say that we are going backwards. I think that we already took a decision. We will try to start from there, because we know that if the stone is already out, it cannot break a hole anymore.
Many women reported that sexism was not an issue for them within modern sports or sports journalism. It was found that most of them faced with major hurdles. Having few females in sports or in sports journalism increased competition for jobs in the male-dominated sports. Some of the issues: family life and unsociable hours disrupt their career, and misogynist attitudes. A few solutions suggested to improve the situation included: employers must become more proactive in their recruitment of women to sports roles and more flexible with working patterns. University, schools, and journalists working together to promote sports journalism to young women who are trying to break into the industry. It is not yet clear when it comes to issues of sexism and gender inequality in sports, especially sports journalism, where there is still a long way to go. It's been me, Ayuba Bigirimana. Thank you for listening, and bye.
Audio Jungle.